viewers around the country and around the world. Today, we will spend the hour discussing some of President-elect Barack Obama's latest picks for his cabinet. On Wednesday, Obama officially nominated former Iowa Governor Tom Vilsack to head the Agriculture Department and Colorado Senator Ken Salazar to serve as Secretary of the Interior Department.
Together, they will serve as guardians of the American landscape on which the health of our economy and the well-being of our families so heavily depend.
We will discuss the nomination of Ken Salazar in a few minutes, but first we turn to Tom Vilsack.
To lead a Department of Agriculture that helps unlock the potential of a 21st century agricultural economy, I can think of no one better than Tom Vilsack. As governor of one of our most abundant farm states, he led with vision, promoting biotech to strengthen our farmers and fostering an agricultural economy of the future that not only grows the food we eat, but the energy that we use. Tom understands that the solution to our energy crisis will be found not in oil fields abroad, but in our farm fields here at home. That's the kind of leader I want in my cabinet.
As Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack will manage a staff of more than 105,000 and a budget of more than $95 billion. From 1999 to 2007, Vilsack served as the Democratic governor of Iowa. After a brief run for the presidency in 2007, he worked as an attorney for a corporate law firm that has represented food giants Cargill and Conagra. He's a strong backer of biofuels and genetically engineered crops. In 2001, the Biotechnology Industry Organization named Vilsack Governor of the Year. On the issue of farm subsidies, he has supported reducing government subsidies of factory farms. This is part of what Tom Vilsack said on Wednesday after being nominated to be Agriculture Secretary.
As a small-town lawyer, I had the responsibility of helping farm families during tough economic times. I know these people. America's farmers and ranchers deserve a Secretary of Agriculture that respects them for the contribution they make to all of us every day. I hope to be that secretary. I look forward to working with congressional leaders who share the President-elect's vision of bringing hope to rural America, of being good stewards of our natural resources, of providing American leadership on climate change, and making America a nation truly dedicated to health and nutrition.
One of Tom Vilsack's most vocal supporters has been Iowa Senator Tom Harkin, chair of the Senate Agriculture Committee. If Vilsack's confirmed, it'll mark the first time the Agriculture Secretary and the Senate Agriculture Committee chair are both Iowans. We are joined right now by two guests. Ronnie Cummins is with us, the Executive Director of the Organic Consumers Association. He's joining us via Skype from the town of Finland, Minnesota. We're also joined in Washington, D.C. by Brian Moore of the National Audubon Society. Brian Moore, let's begin with you. What do you think of Governor Vilsack as the pick for Secretary of Agriculture?
Well, good morning, Amy. Thanks for having the Audubon Society on. We're encouraged by the pick of Governor Vilsack, and for various reasons. First of all, we believe it's someone we can work with. This governor, as governor and as a presidential candidate, has said he would like to reduce global warming emissions by 70% by 2050, a nice environmental position, conservation position on reducing global warming gases. He's also been a supporter of changing the large subsidy scale and large subsidy system within the Department of Agriculture, and in fact moving some of that money to the natural resources conservation programs that they run. And I think there's something maybe a lot of people don't understand about the Department of Agriculture and its importance for conservation and for the environment. Two agencies there, the Forest Service and the Natural Resources Conservation Service, very large federal agencies. The Natural Resources Conservation Service with, I believe, an office in every county in America, and well over a $3 billion budget, which may be the largest conservation budget in the federal government, with the purpose solely of taking private land and putting it in conservation in one way, shape, or form. And Governor Vilsack's been a big supporter of those things, was as a presidential candidate, and we look forward to working with him on these really important conservation issues if he's to become the Secretary of Agriculture.
And Brian Moore, do you have any concern about his close relationship with some of these huge agribusiness companies? For instance, he's been known to fly on Monsanto jets on more than one occasion.
Well, It's an interesting question, but agribusiness and agriculture are things. You know, I understand agriculture well. Agribusiness is something different, and I believe it's important to have a Secretary of Agriculture that understands the agriculture system in the United States, and agribusiness is part of that. So the assumption that the nominee for the Secretary of Agriculture is in bed with these people, I'm not sure about it. My assumption is that this is someone from a farm state who understands agriculture, and more importantly for me, understands conservation, understands the need to reduce greenhouse gases.
Ronnie Cummins, you are Executive Director of Organic Consumers Association. Your response to Governor Vilsack and Brian Moore's depiction of him?
Well, the organic community and the sustainable ag community are very disappointed in the appointment of Vilsack as Secretary of Agriculture. You know, Obama promised us change. What he's given us here at best is small change. We've got a big problem. We need big change. This notion that genetically engineered crops can feed the world, or that, you know, corn-based ethanol and soybean-based biofuels can solve the energy crisis are, of course, completely discredited. If they're serious about solving the climate crisis, they need to take note of the fact that American industrial agriculture uses about 19% of all of our fossil fuels and cranks out about 37% of our climate destabilizing greenhouse gases. So if we're going to solve the climate crisis with a 80 or 90% reduction in greenhouse pollution, not 70%, we're going to have to transform America's energy-intensive, chemical-intensive, genetically engineered agricultural system into an organic transition to organic system, which can sequester 40% of all of our greenhouse gases in the soil, which uses 30 to 50% less energy, and which can produce healthy food as opposed to the current food system, which is subsidized factory farms and junk food.
And could you expand particularly on what have been Vilsack's stands when it comes to genetically modified foods?
Yes, Vilsack has been an ardent promoter, not only of genetically engineered foods and crops, but also of the extremely controversial biopharmaceutical crops, which involve splicing pharmaceutical drugs or industrial chemicals into food crops. Even quite a few people in the biotech industry are alarmed by these biopharmaceuticals, since you could get dangerous drugs throughout the food supply. But Vilsack supported biofarm crops when he was governor. He went further than that. In the year 2005, Vilsack championed a law in Iowa that's been introduced all over the country, backed by Monsanto and the Farm Bureau. This law, this preemption law, as they're called, basically takes the right of municipalities or counties to regulate genetically engineered crops. Vilsack rammed this through, even though it's extremely unpopular with not only consumers, but small farmers. Vilsack has repeated the myth of the biotech industry that genetically engineered crops can help feed the world, when in fact genetically engineered crops do not produce a higher yield. And he's spoken about their environmental benefits when the sum total of 10 years of genetically engineered crops in the United States have increased the use of pesticides, not decreased them.
I want to just clarify, Ronnie Cummins is speaking to us via Skype, and those of you who use Skype know sometimes it can hung up a bit, but it's quite remarkable to talk to him and see him for those who are watching TV. Are you at your home now in Finland, Minnesota?
I'm at our office in Finland, Minnesota.
He's Executive Director of Organic Consumers Association. Brian Moore in studio in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. with the National Audubon Society. Your response to Ronnie Cummins' critique of Vilsack?
Well, Audubon doesn't claim to be experts in genetically modified foods, and we certainly see issues with the increased ability and increased opening up of new lands, native grass prairies, marginal lands that have provided fantastic wildlife benefit over the last, over the history of our nation, lands that have never been broken into crop. And certainly the invention of some new frost-resistant, drought-resistant food strains and seeds concerns us, because it's taking what was once a native grass prairie or native grassland, or maybe land that's hasn't been suitable for agriculture in the past, and causing, of course, tillage, runoff, extra nutrients.